Now that we've learned major minor chords, it's time to learn two more, diminished and augmented. Let's quickly review major chords. Major chords are made out of the root, fifth, and third of a major scale. That's a major scale from the word la scala, meaning a ladder of notes. And if I take the first degree, or the root, and the third, and the fifth, and combine them into one unit, that's called a major triad, or a major chord. A triad is a three-note chord. Chords can have 4 notes, or 5 notes, or 6 notes, or however many notes you want, but a three-note basic chord, it takes 3 notes to make a chord, not 2. 2 notes is an interval, 3 notes is a chord, and three-note chords are called triads. So we've learned the 12 major triads, which were C, F, and G, which were all white, D, E, and A, which had the black third, D flat, E flat, and A flat, which were Oreo cookies, G flat, which was all black, and then B and B flat, which were mirror images of one another. Then we learned how to make a major chord minor by lowering the third a half step. We took a major triad and lowered the third 1/2 step from E to E flat, that's C minor. And then we did it on F, F minor, G major, G minor. On D we lowered the third, F sharp to F natural, so D minor was all white. We did the same to E minor and A minor. And then on D flat minor, we lowered the F to what looks like E, but we have to call it F flat. And in E flat minor, we lowered the third from G to G flat. A flat minor, we lowered the third from C to C flat. G flat minor, we lowered the B flat to B double flat. Looks like A, but it's called B double flat because you're flatting a flat. And then on the B major triad, we lowered the third a half step to make it B minor, and then B flat, we lowered the third D to D flat. And so we have 24 chords at this point: C major, C minor, F major, F minor, G major, G minor, D major, D minor, E major, E minor, A major, A minor, D flat major, D flat minor, E flat major, E flat minor, A flat major, A flat minor, G flat major, G flat minor, B major, B minor, B flat major, B flat minor. And of course we said we can play those in the left hand as well as in the right hand, or we can play them hands together. And remember, they can be broken up. In various ways. They can also be inverted, standing on their heads, can't they? And so we have 24 basic triads, but since we can play them in 7 different octaves, and we can break them up in all kinds of ways, and we can invert them, we really already have, a few hundred chords. Not different chords, but I mean different ways to play those chords. Okay? Now we're going to add to that by learning 2 more chord types. The first is a diminished triad, and there's another kind of diminished chord later that I'm going to show you called the diminished seventh, and that's a wonderful, exciting chord that you can do all kinds of neat things with. But right now I'm not talking about diminished seventh, I'm just talking about diminished triads. And the way we make a diminished triad is we lower the third like we did in minor, but we also lower the fifth. So a minor triad has a lowered third, but a diminished triad has a lowered third and a fifth. Okay? So that's C diminished. Here's F. What would F diminished be? Well, I lower the third and I lower the fifth. The third I'm lowering from a white to black, the fifth I'm lowering from a white to a white. And that note, of course, has to be what? C flat. If you wrote it, you'd have to write C flat, couldn't write B. That wouldn't make sense to musicians. And then a G major chord. To make it minor, we lower the third a half step. To make it diminished, we lower the third and the fifth a half step. And then D diminished, we start out with D major, we lower the third a half step. That makes it minor, and then we lower the fifth, that makes it diminished. So that's D diminished. Here's E major, we lower the third to make it minor, lower the fifth to make it diminished. And here's A major, A minor, A diminished. So you'll notice that D diminished, E diminished, and A diminished all look the same. They all have white, white, black, white, white, black, white, white, black. By grouping these in your mind, you'll find it easier to remember them that way. Here's D flat major. To make it minor, remember we lowered the F to A flat, F flat, which looks like E, and we lower the A flat to A double flat, which looks like G. So that's D flat diminished. Again, D flat major, D flat minor, D flat diminished. E flat major, E flat minor, E flat diminished. A flat major, A flat minor, A flat diminished. Okay? So, again, D flat, major, minor, diminished. E flat major, minor, diminished. And A flat major, minor, diminished. And then G flat, the chord, the major triad that's all black, we lower the two black notes here to two white keys, right? But those white keys would have to be called B double flat and D double flat. So you'd have G double flat, B double flat, and D double flat. Did I say that right? G double flat, no, G flat, B double flat, and D double flat. Okay? Because you're lowering the third and the fifth a half step. The principle is easy, but when you start saying them, you get your tongue twisted sometimes. Here's a B major chord, major triad. If we lower the third, we get B minor. If we lower the fifth, we get B diminished. B diminished, you'll notice, is all white. And it's the only diminished triad that's all white, B diminished. And now B flat major. To make it minor, we lower the third half step. To make it diminished, we lower the fifth a half step. So that is B flat diminished. Okay. So we've made all 12 chords major and now diminished, which gives us 36 chords. Let me do that quickly, and then we'll go on to the next type of chord. C major, C minor, C diminished, F major, F minor, F diminished, G major, G minor, G major, D minor, G diminished, D flat major, D flat minor, D flat diminished, E flat major, E flat minor, E flat diminished, A flat major, A flat minor, A flat diminished, D flat major, D flat minor, D flat diminished, E flat major, E flat minor, E flat diminished, A flat major, A flat minor, A flat diminished, G flat major, G flat minor, G flat diminished, B major, B minor, B diminished, B flat major, B flat minor, B flat diminished. Okay? Now the next kind of chord is called augmented. And an augmented chord is you simply raise the fifth a half step from a major triad. So in a major triad we have a root, third, and fifth. If I go up half a step, that's called C augmented, because I'm augmenting it. I'm stretching out the distance. Diminished, but the word diminished means to make smaller. The word augment means to make larger. So we're making this interval larger, aren't we? Making the chord wider, in other words. So that's C augmented. What would F augmented be? Sure, we just move the C to C sharp. That would be F augmented. That's the G major chord. How do I make it augmented? Move the D up to D sharp. That's G augmented. Here's D major. How do I make it augmented? Raise A to A sharp. Here's E major. How do I make that augmented? Do I go up there? No, that's a half step. I got to go up a half step. I mean, that's a whole step. I got to go up just a half step and play what looks like C. But can I call it C? No, because I'm sharping the fifth. I'm raising the fifth a half step, so I got to call it B sharp. Okay? It's kind of hard when you're first starting out to understand why, but as you learn more about music theory, you'll realize that that makes sense. Okay? I have to kind of take it by faith right now. A major, and if we raise the fifth a half step, we get A diminished. Here's D flat major. If we raise the fifth a half step, we get D flat augmented. What's that note called? It's called A, isn't it? Because we're raising a flat. When you raise a flat a half step, you don't say that's A sharp. You don't say that's A flat sharp. No, you're just taking the flat off the note and making it into a natural. So that is D flat F and A natural, which is D flat augmented. Here's the E flat chord. To make it augmented, we simply raise the B flat up a half step to B natural. The A flat chord, we raise the fifth a half step from E flat to E natural. From G flat, we raise the fifth up a half step from D flat to D natural. From the B major chord, we raise the F sharp up a half step to what looks like G. But what do we call it now? That's right, we got to call it F double sharp. And the symbol for that is two little X's, fat X's. You don't write two, when there's double flat, you write two flats on paper, but when you write double sharp, it's a fat X. It's not two sharps, it's a fat X. And you'll see that written in music sometimes. And then B flat augmented, you'd raise the F up to F sharp. Okay? So just to recap, there's 12 major chords, 12 minor chords, 12 diminished chords, and 12 augmented chords. That makes 48 chords. Each chord can be turned upside down 3 times, so that's 144 chords within the span of one octave. So there's 144 chords here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And I'm not a mathematician, but I suspect that comes perilously close to 1,000 different positions of chords. And it's not 1,000 different chords, but it's 1,000 different positions or places, higher or lower or upside downness, that you can play those chords in. Okay? So let's quickly play those 12 major chords, minor, diminished, and augmented. So we have 48 chords. Here we go. C major, minor, diminished, augmented, E major, minor, diminished, augmented, G major, minor, diminished, augmented, D major, minor, diminished, augmented, E major, minor, diminished, augmented, A major, minor, diminished, augmented, D flat major, minor, diminished, augmented, E flat major, minor, diminished, augmented, A flat major, minor, diminished, augmented, G flat major, minor, diminished, augmented, B major, minor, diminished, augmented, B flat major, minor, diminished, augmented. Okay? Now I hope that you will do just what I did. Play those chords. You have to play them very slowly at first, but play them in both hands. Major, minor, diminished, augmented, major, minor, diminished, augmented, G major, minor, diminished, augmented, D major, D minor, D diminished, D augmented, E major, E minor, E diminished, E augmented, A major, A minor, A diminished, A augmented, D flat major, D flat minor, D flat diminished, D flat augmented, E flat major, E flat minor, E flat diminished, E flat augmented, A flat major, A flat minor, A flat diminished, A flat augmented, G flat major, G flat minor, G flat diminished, G flat augmented, B major, B minor, B diminished, B augmented, B flat major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Okay? 48 chords, and then of course, like I said, you can turn them upside down. I just turned major, minor, diminished, augmented upside down. And I advocate that you do that too on all the chords. And then you remember you can break them up. So I would advocate doing this. C major, through the 12 chords. Okay, well that'll keep you busy for quite a while, so learn those well. And remember, we're just in the basics here. The reason we're learning chords is because chords are the fabric of music. You make music out of chords. In other words, I can never play like this. I can never play any kind of song, whether it's playing jazz or classics or fusion or rock or country western or whatever. You can't play without playing chords, and so the more you know about chords and scales and formations, the more it all makes sense and comes together. Later we'll be talking about what we'll do with chords, but right now we have to learn those chords. So learn them well, and then I'll be back soon with the next kind of chord. So we'll see you in a minute. Bye.